Hello everyone and welcome back to Spoiler Warning. This time, it's hopefully, will be nice and chill, plenty of news to share, plenty of topics to discuss, and a good old-fashioned wrestling talk about. So welcome everyone, I'm Tom Colohue, I'm your host through the world of Spoiler Warning and through the world of news spoiling, and of course a healthy, I think, dose of not so much spoiling as sharing. We do plenty of news you can't get anywhere else and plenty of speculation as well, and a few of my reports have been confirmed by writers of segments, and that's just today. So let's get to our headlines. We'll be starting of course with the big news about Shinsuke Nakamura potentially leaving the WWE. We're going to talk about John Cena's heel turn when it was put together. We're going to talk Jade Cargill and some backstage issues that she's having, not just with other wrestlers, also a bit of a tete-a-tete for PWInsider and Fightful. We're going to talk the third phase of the Bloodline, this one led by Jacob Fatu, and some of the issues that WWE are having, bringing the right people into it. We're going to talk a new deal for the Hardys and AEW's Christian Cage failing a cash-in in something which usually gets comparisons to WWE. So plenty of news to discuss. Already 64 people on YouTube, 18 likes. Get those likes up, 2 more, get us going. And we have someone already hitting the like button a few times on the TikTok side. We have enthusiasm on TikTok, we really do. Welcome everyone. So let's talk first and foremost Shinsuke Nakamura. This is a big piece of news which has got a lot of attention, originally from a former boss of mine, Wade Keller, over at PWTorch. Shinsuke Nakamura is said to be wrapping up his time in the WWE. The WWE are said to have made it very clear that the intention is to either let his contract run down or release him sooner than that. However, he has not been released as of yet, and the WWE do still have him available should they choose to use him, and that paints a very different looking picture. Now, Shinsuke Nakamura, I've asked a number of people about this, was given the US title with no intention to feature him during WrestleMania. The match between he and LA Knight was essentially designed to sweep this into a new phase. I didn't expect him to lose the championship as he did to Shinsuke. And then, of course, once LA Knight has now won it back, it feels like a giant waste of time. And that's because, by and large, it was a giant waste of time. This was one of a number of ways that the WWE tried to convince Shinsuke Nakamura to stay. It didn't work. Shinsuke Nakamura is said to just be very little interested in staying with the WWE after years of his character being overall neglected or simply not used. He spent a lot of time in catering. Apparently, his last contract that he signed around the pandemic time, he wasn't particularly happy then, and is certainly not so happy now. Now, Triple H wants to keep hold of Shinsuke Nakamura as much as he can, and he has made every possible effort to convince Nakamura to stay. But Nakamura seems to be of the opinion it is too little, too late, and it is actually Nick Khan who has eventually stated that as regards cost-benefit analysis, the Shinsuke Nakamura experiment is over. That's Nick Khan. His job is CFO. His job is to do the cost-benefit analysis and work out who's worth keeping. It is not Triple H. Triple H is of a very different opinion, believing that there is still a lot of gas in the tank for Shinsuke Nakamura, and believing that the man he had in NXT could be reborn on the main roster under different circumstances. He's still hoping to convince Shinsuke Nakamura to sign a new deal. So we'll wait and see if Triple H can convince him, but it will need a lot more attention in the right steps to make that happen. Sure, Nick Khan has multiple jobs. The CFO role is the one that I'm saying he was acting in that capacity. Thank you, Proud Dad, for so many likes through. Spider-Boss says, for me, the biggest heel turn according to WWE, Cena hasn't appeared. He hasn't, and that makes him more of a heel because you're not going to love someone who abandons you so quickly. So quickly. Declan says, any news on Becky Lynch? Not at this point. Hello, Cal. Hello, Car. Hello, Cecil. Hello, Valencia. Hello, Leon. Hello, Irish. Hello, Ed. Hello, Tyler. Hello, Sean. Good to see so many of you. Valencia says, hope the house is coming along well. Bit by bit, it's all coming together. And I always like it when it comes together, because when it does come together, everyone leaves the happier. Proud Dad has sent to heart. Thank you very kindly for a generous donation. We have the gift system on TikTok, which has been very beneficial, and I can only appreciate the support from so many of you in so many gifts on that side, and of course on the YouTube side as well, where we have 87 people so far. That number will of course continue to increase as the numbers go up in those likes as well. Carl says, I saw PWInsider confirmed your report on Travis Scott not injuring Cody. No, Cody has to be slapped in the face. I don't know how else to explain that. Cody has to be slapped in the face. He was slapped in the face. Everyone was happy. Sometimes wrestling and porn have a lot in common. I don't know how else to describe that. Roy says Toni Storm versus Mariah May was the best women's match in 2025 at AEW Revolution. It's a very small gap you've left there. The best one in 2025 at Revolution. Was there more than one? I know there was. I know there was Sasha Banks. But still, you get my point. Oh, I've read that one. Anonymous says Japan or AEW for Nakamura. I would imagine he heads back to Japan if he doesn't get what he's looking for in WWE. Rick says still watching the pick, and so you should. Declan says I heard the Sportskeeda. Well, that Becky Lynch could join The Rock in the faction with John Cena. So Sportskeeda are guessing. It's called guessing. Hello, Brad. Good to see you, mate. Kevin says, doesn't matter what Triple H is doing with Nakamura. Wrestling fans in 2025 really don't care about Nakamura. They could. This, sadly, is not the time for it. One says, according to Meltzer, AW want Darby Allin to dethrone Moxley, but unfortunately there's no guarantee he will return from Mount Everest. Juan? He's not going to die. He's too rich. He'll be okay. Okay? He'll be okay. Spider-Bell says, with the exception of Moxley versus Cope, AW Revolution was really good. I will be talking about that. There's a lot to talk about. Sean says, do you see the steel cage match main eventing Raw? Yeah. I mean, Seth Rollins and CM Punk, why wouldn't you main event Raw? Feels obvious, especially with Roman so integral to this story. James Anderson says, what's going on with the Wyatt Six? They are currently in They are currently in a phase of rebirth. I said stage instead of phase. I don't know why, but that's what happened. They're currently in a phase of rebirth. They will be returning shortly. I do expect to see them in and around WrestleMania. It will depend on what happens with Alexa Bliss. Carl says, any news on Asuka? Not at this point. She's still injured and will be returning when she is physically capable of doing so. It says there's a great video of an excited Travis Scott post-Elimination Chamber. The man did exactly what was expected of him. WWE eager to continue working with him. Everyone saying, who's Travis Scott? You're kind of their target audience. Juan says Dave Meltzer reported Money, Storm and many others are banged up after last night's Revolution. Yeah, they go all out. What can I say? Allied, welcome mate. Says Cody advertised to appear on Raw tonight. I wonder if Cena appears on the screen. I think it'll be a little while because... well, he's not got that many dates. Again, we really should have seen this heel turn coming. Really should have. We'll be talking about that, Spider-Boss, don't you worry. Michael says, hi, Tom. Welcome, Michael. The other Mike says, the Edge still refusing to take a pin. More on that later. And Eric says, the WWE is going to kick Shinsuke. WTF. That is the news from Wade Keller. If you're just joining us, Eric, by all means, pop back to the beginning of the show and you'll find plenty more detail there. Noob says, hello Mr. Colohue, how are you doing today? What are your thoughts on Natty wrestling in the NWA, the Crockett Cup this year? If that's something she wants to do, WWE more than happy for her to do it. Her contract at the moment is less about wrestling and more about training. Mr. Sims, big fan of Toni Storm. Cal says there's been a lot of rage on Twitter about the Y6 not appearing. I do hold out they might show on Friday. They will appear as soon as the rage reaches critical mass. Steve says you have to respect that hiking Everest can be a deadly game. Much like Survivor Series, 1998. And now I want to watch that. William Regal was a man. Such a man. He's a real man's man. That was a phase. Hello, Daniel Berry. Kevin says, I don't understand. If you're not happy, why would you sign a new contract? He signed a new contract during the pandemic, or in and around the pandemic, when, to be fair, a lot of wrestlers just needed money. Just needed something. Marcel says Nakamura has been announced for WWE Live in Amsterdam. I think he will not be in the Europe tour. We'll see how that plays out. Ishii says, hello Tom, hope you're okay. Doing pretty well, Ishii. Welcome, mate. Valentia says, did anyone else watch the AEW pay-per-view? I actually ended up turning it off Just seemed that almost every wrestler was blading. Not my type of thing, but I appreciate other opinions. Kelly says, hey Tom, how did I miss the Shinsuke news? You did. By all means, just rewind to the beginning and you'll find the Shinsuke news right there, and then you can catch straight up. Welcome to the show. Spider also would love to see Nakamura versus Okada in AEW. You could also see that in New Japan from many moons ago. Cal says it's frustrating because I feel the Whites are one of the biggest things in the company, but I don't know, it happens, I guess. Hopefully their next feud is good. Again, depends entirely on what's going on with Alexa Bliss. Our next piece of news. Brian Gewirtz, who helped write the angle in which John Cena turned heel and allied with The Rock, has heavily disputed reporting by wrestling media, in this case the Wrestling Observer and Fightful, stating that the decision to have John Cena turn heel at Elimination Chamber was last minute, almost to the point of last minute on the day. He has disputed it. He literally was involved in writing it. He has thus confirmed my reporting on it, that this was not something that happened overnight and had been building for a number of months. I reported in full detail what happened there. If you want to check that out, you don't even need to watch spoiler warning. I cut it out and you can check it out in an individual video at some point at your leisure. Brian Gewirtz, who helped write the angle, has proven Wrestling Observer and Fightful wrong when it comes to their reporting that the John Cena heel turn was very last minute. Spider-Boss says, correct me if I'm wrong, but WWE gave Alba Fire the plans that were for Blair Davenport. No, there were no plans for Blair Davenport. There were plans that were available and Kaylee Ray eventually stepped into them, but those plans were not for Blair Davenport. The plans were just available. There were no plans for Blair Davenport. It's sad to say, sad but true. Anonymous says, when do you think Malachi shows up to build for WrestleMania? Personally, I don't know for certain he's going to be wrestling at WrestleMania. I would give him another couple of weeks before I think he'll turn up, but I do think around WrestleMania time we will see his debut. He's already signed with the WWE and he has no non-compete clause. No Sid I've played, no 2K25, nor can I imagine a world in which I'm going to. Aled, as regards the Carmella situation, you want to check out the spoiler warning from Friday. We went into a lot of detail as regards Carmella there. It's all there and available for you. Spider-Boss said, at this point I don't see Lyra and Chelsea Green losing their titles before WrestleMania, nor do I see either of them on the card. Sean says, Indy Hartwell run the Renegades of Wrestling Women's Championship, ending the former champion Aisha's reign at 723 days. Carl says, any news on any more former WWE superstars returning to WWE? That seems to be over now. Seems to be over. Appreciate that, Carl. Michael says, not sure if you saw this, but Mercedes said in a recent interview that her brand was important to her to build, something you've been saying for years. Yes, the Mercedes brand is the main reason that Mercedes did not sign back with the WWE. Nick Khan was of the opinion that the Sasha Banks name was more valuable than the name Mercedes Money. He has not yet been proven wrong, but I believe he will in time. Eric says, do you think Indy will wrestle in the US soon? I think she will if she can get a visa. And Joe says, love their vibe and feel of WWE Evolve. I have high hopes. Haven't actually watched it yet, Joe. What did you think beyond that? Was it a good show? Was it more than just good wrestling? Because if it was just good wrestling, I can take it or leave it. Metal Mama says, any updates on why do they put Bray in the Hall of Fame? The reason Bray didn't go in the Hall of Fame last year, when they intended to have him so, was that they asked his family if he should, and they said no. That's what it comes down to. If the family say no, it doesn't happen, much like with Owen Hart. Never was added to the Hall of Fame, his family said no. No worries, appreciate the thank you. As weird as it does sound to put it into wrestling context, we do have to respect the word no, and even if it makes fans annoyed, jealous, angry, or just upset, sometimes it's still the right thing to do. No news on Demolition, though I do believe it's been reported that they will be going into the Hall of Fame. One says, is it safe that I'm not going to see Mercedes vs Saraya Part 2, since Saraya is showing disgruntled thoughts on social media in his upset AW released her brother Knight? Yeah, probably not going to happen now. Probably not. Proud Dad, I expect Aleister Black to be in and around WrestleMania to have his return. I do expect talk of a new member of Judgment Day is in and around Aleister Black. Alice says, you know if Nikki Bella is going to be making more appearances? I don't expect her to. Yes, KJ, I did cover Shinsuke, just pop back to the beginning and it is all there. Hey Tom, in regards to you saying the Whites will come back when the internet rage, I have not seen them hits the roof. Is this intended from WWE to get their reaction? Yes and no. They do want that reaction because it means you're getting a passionate reaction. It means people will be more invested. But at the same time, they know exactly when the White Six are coming back. They're just waiting for the right moment. They've already got it planned. They know. We just don't. Joe says, mix of both good character work as well. Swipe Right is a great team to check out. That's a good name as well. Spider-Boss says, just looking at Mercedes' AEW run so far, Mercedes did well by signing with AEW. I also think the rest of the women's division did well because she signed with AEW. No worries. I appreciate that you guys get a response and say thank you. It's very nice of you. Just very nice. You can tell I've got some very new people here. Sid says, Mickie James won't be in Series 2 of LFG. Michelle McCool will be replacing her. Yes, we discussed the reasonings for that during Friday's show. Alex says, WWE now selling I Hate Logan Paul shirts. Those will sell. Yeah, might get one myself. I really might. Yes, Carl, we are going to be doing a 2-night WrestleMania watch party this year. That is our Easter holidays here in the UK. And honestly, that works for me. I don't even need to take Monday off work. Jade Cargill. We have more information as regards the world of Jade Cargill. There's a lot of world of Jade Cargill to go into. We also have 109 people watched on YouTube, but only 48 likes. What gives, guys? More than half of you haven't hit that thumbs up. Give that thumbs up, everyone. I do appreciate it. And it does guarantee more people watching, more people finding, and more people checking us out. Jade Cargill maintained a minor injury during her time off injured. So she was written out because of an active injury, but she was cleared from it relatively early. I'm not co-hosting, just to be clear. She was cleared of it relatively early and able to get back into action. The WWE took advantage of this time and this injury to book a strong return angle heading into WrestleMania, and she's been sitting out for the last couple of months despite being cleared in order to help build tension towards that. Now, PWInsider and Fightful are currently arguing over two contradictory statements on this, two contradictory opinions that they're reporting as news. PWInsider believe that she was not injured in any way. This was something that was mentioned at the time. Fightful say that she was, which they also reported at the time, but there was no argument until after the fact. This is typical of the Fightful business model. For example, they reported that Drew McIntyre wasn't going to win the Elimination Chamber after Drew McIntyre didn't win the Elimination Chamber. Spoilers and results are not the same thing. That said, while I've had to call out Fightful in the last report, on this one, they are correct. There was an injury to Jade Cargill. There are, however, some in WWE, and I need to report on this, that do not believe Jade Cargill to have been value for money as of yet. There are concerns over her conduct, both in-ring and backstage. There are, of course, as we know, some backstage issues, and the connection with the audience means that those voices are getting louder that would like the WWE to cut their losses sooner rather than later. At the moment, she's got the ear of Cody Rhodes, and she's got the ear of Triple H. As we know, they are the most important people when it comes to ensuring that you still get a strong push in WWE. But there are some concerns as to how well she is ingratiating herself to backstage and how well she's been able to perform so far. There are some, as I mentioned there, who believe that the WWE should look to cut their losses. KJ says, I'm watching it now, somehow rewinding to the exact part where you started the news. Always good, always good. Thank you, Ishii, appreciate that. Sid, I'm not sure yet. I need to look at what it is and why I would. Sean says, this is by Body Slam. WWE has tentative plans to bring back the Evolution pay-per-view on Saturday, July 5th. That actually is not by Body Slam, Sean. And I appreciate that you probably think it is because it's been reported as by Body Slam. If you read that from a source other than Body Slam, it looks like it was reported by Body Slam. What actually happened, and I just want to be very clear, this is just me letting you know something that they are trying to hide from you. It was reported in a Body Slam and PW Nexus shared Discord by an unaffiliated user with no history of reporting news by the name of, and I quote, Cody Rhodes. Body Slam did not report that Evolution would return. So I just want to be clear, if they're wrong, Body Slam will disavow all knowledge because they didn't report it. But they're not disavowing all knowledge yet, just in case they're right. If they're right, Body Slam will get all the credit, despite not reporting anything. If they're right, we need to give a shout out to Cody Rhodes. But that's why we need to remember who reports what. Okay? We will be doing that watch along, Cal. I'm excited for it. Bailey, no news on Kiana James. I don't think there's ever been, unfortunately. Spider-Boss says, Jade attitude doesn't help her too much. TK did well letting Jade go. He didn't want to. TK did not let her go. He fought tooth and nail. Sid said, the YouTube is going perfect. Thank you, Sid. Appreciate you. Kelly says, hit the like, guys. Let's get the like count up. 58 already. You're doing the God's work, Kelly. Guy says, who's your favourite dirt sheets? The other Mike says, are there some other WWE superstars or higher-ups? There is a mix. There is a mix. One says, I really hope Jade Cargill succeeds, because if WWE were to cut their losses, AEW will waste no time scooping her back. Yes, they absolutely will. And Cal thinks Jade Cargill will be a star. Steve says, is Cody Rhodes added again? Is it just our SRS burner account? Well, I mean, he definitely has burner accounts in those Discord chats, I'll tell you that. Taylor says, Tom, been a while since I've made it to a live spoiler warning. Hope you and all the chat are doing well and are blessed. Doing very well, thank you, Taylor, but I appreciate that check-in. Good to see you, mate. Dad says, hey, Tom, do you think Jay White could be next for Moxley? Would make perfect sense to me. Anonymous says, do you see Wardlow leaving AEW? Seems to have just not been making any appearances. So, certainly I think when his contract runs down, it might be the right choice. We're going to talk Bloodline next. Specifically the third phase, otherwise known as the Jacob Fatu tribal chiefdom. Now, I've reported months ago, and you're seeing it play out as we speak, that Jacob Fatu will be taking over as tribal chief of the Bloodline, particularly, of course, the SmackDown iteration of the Bloodline, which does not feature the Usos or Roman Reigns, who is now a singles act. The WWE have people ready to be called up at a moment's notice to become part of this new version of the Bloodline. Hikuleo, as we know, is in NXT at the moment, as is Lance Anoa'i. They are ready as backup, but WWE are said to not be too impressed so far with their signings. Anoa'i is just returning from injury, so the WWE are only just starting to get a look at him. But with Hikuleo, he's been in the WWE for a while, and interest in an NXT appearance just hasn't materialised. In the current incarnation, and this is one of the reasons that the new bloodline around Jacob Fatu hasn't even properly formed yet, the WWE only really have faith in Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, and Tama Tonga. In fact, the WWE are actively thrilled with the work of Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga, believing that Tama Tonga is taking small opportunities to connect with the audience by being a ridiculous human being in the best possible way. Whereas Jacob Fatu, as we know, is over. He's over in a big way. Tonga Loa is also over because you never know what he's going to do, but you know it's going to be terrible. So it looks like the third bloodline might not be as big as the first or the second. And as we know, when it comes to Jacob Fatu, size does matter. Or at least it did for Solo Sikoa. Jacob Fatu seems to be doing a lot more of a much smaller piece of group. So that is news as regards our third incarnation of the Bloodline. Cal says, and he's not wrong, Cody Rhodes, he's reliable so far. It's got nothing right, but also nothing wrong, which is more than I can say for most. We will definitely be reporting on this when it comes to the wrestling receipt. I promise you that. Spider-Boss says, 1 year in WWE and Jade has problems. She's struggling to fit. Also says, does WWE consider Tonga Loa in this new version of the Bloodline? I reported what I've reported. Alex says, Elektra Lopez was backstage at Revolution last night via Lucha Libre Online on Twitter. And on this one, I do trust them as a source. James McConville says, I started late, so I just marked out at the William Regal real man's man remark. Always, always. Such a man. What a guy. Calvin says the catsuit that Jade wore on Friday definitely symbolised that she was out for blood. Naomi's blood. One says Edge should have won last night. The main event was probably the worst ending, similar to a Sprinkler Pyro 4 years ago. And Amra says Hikuleo will debut in the new Bloodline. I didn't say that. Also did not say that. Jack Burton says, any update on the return of Chad Gable and the Lucha storyline? Not at this point. He is just taking some time off, but I expect him to be back before WrestleMania. Joe Pierce suggests a tribal chief Tonga Loa. KJ says, I don't mean this in a bad way, but I wish Adam Cole would ask out. I know he's usually hurt, but when healthy, Tony still doesn't use him in a good spot. He was on the pre-show last night versus the Ring of Honor guys. Yeah, because unfortunately they can't build any momentum for him because he's injured so much. Spider-Ball says, who do you see taking the title off Moxley? There's some options. I know there's talk of Darby Allin for obvious reasons, but you've got Will Ospreay right there. Rick Cherrycoke is always over with me. You know that to be true. KJ says, I know Triple H would fight for Cole to come back. He actively is doing so. It's causing some problems. Calvin says, sad how Cody had to tell his daughter he ran into a wall. Cal says, any news on Rey Fenix? Not signed as of yet. Will be debuting in WWE shortly. Cal says, I think Adam Cole should go back to WWE. And Michael says they ended Swerve's title reign too early. I think they were trying to do a favour for Daniel Bryan, and I don't think it necessarily did the company a favour. Allied wants Swerve to beat Mox at the next pay-per-view. Miguel says, my picks are Swerve, and then also mentioned Ospreay. Sean says, who do you see dethroning Chelsea and Lyra? I don't think the WWE have ironed that out yet. There's no real inclination one way or the other. And Declan doesn't want to watch WrestleMania this year because Becky Lynch, who he's a fan of, is not on the card. The Hardy Boys have signed a new deal with the WWE, which I did not expect. But digging deeper, it's not exactly particularly lucrative. In fact, I'm told it's more like a Legends contract and does not pay particularly well, considering the name value that they bring. It's not believed to be worth much more than their TNA deal, for example. There are also a lot of rules and restrictions in Jeff Hardy's deal, and regular drug checks are likely going to be a major part of his remaining career. WWE were able to convince their own higher-ups to sign the Hardy Boys, particularly as regards Triple H and Nick Khan, because they're confident merch sales would be very valuable. Essentially, they expect they can make enough money off the merch for the Hardy Boys to pay the Hardy Boys. And yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that working. Calvin says, Randy went in harder on John than Punk did, in my opinion. Yeah, both good promos. Both very good promos. Spider-Boss, the reason it took time before Charlotte wrestled on TV is because they didn't know if she was going to be face or heel, and they wanted to build her up as credible. Everton says, hello, Tom. Hello, Everton. Good to see you. Eric says the reason people didn't care about Shinsuke's reign was because he keep him off TV and doing promos for 90% of his reign. I also think he needed some competitors that he could beat. They didn't feed him enough. They needed to feed him more. KJ says, aren't they under a one-year deal with TNA? The WWE has bought out TNA deals before, and the Hardys could always buy themselves out. Christopher says, Bayley pinned Lyra Valkyrie in a match and has not got a match for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. That match was not a number one contendership match. Everton, quite a bit. We've talked about Jade Cargill, we've talked about Shinsuke Nakamura, we talked about the next incarnation of the Bloodline, and a few reports that are being confirmed. Alex says, will the Hardys only work NXT to the TNA, or is it possible for them to be on the main roster too? As I say, the deal is primarily a Legends deal. It allows certain elements of merch, which we are likely to see over the next few months start appearing. When it comes to the wrestling, I do think they'll largely be kept in NXT and largely advising people there. Everton says, the booking of Finn and Nakamura have been poor. Two top stars with so much quality, and see them booked so badly is disappointing. Sean says, how strange we live in a world where Randy Orton is a face and John Cena is a heel. Roy says, Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher in a cage match was one of the best matches at AEW Revolution. Spider-Ball says, who do you think is next in line to face Mercedes Money? There's a few people throwing their name in the hat. She'll pick her own opponent. Carl says, once the Wyatts have Alexa, could you see them going back for The Miz? Not really. I don't think that adds anything to the story. I don't think he's particularly exciting, though. And I think he's working with Carmelo Hayes in a much more interesting capacity. Not really, Juan. Jay White versus Adam Copeland doesn't really interest me. Jay White versus John Moxley, definitely. Seen it before, and it was good. Carl says NXT Roadblock is going to be good because Hardy's versus Axiom and Fraser. And Calvin says, I feel like people are starting to see how Shinsuke is doing so many superstars dirty. Shinsuke, Fury, and American Made are very big examples. Hard to tell if he's intentionally ruining their career. I don't believe he is, but you have given quite a few examples there, which are all fitting of what you're saying. Yes, Anonymous, Finn signed a new deal. It did not involve championships, as I mentioned. Joe says, really don't see much left for Shinsuke to do. Really think time ran its course. And Calvin says, I think Triple H may be jealous of how beautiful Julius Creed is. Aren't we all? My last piece of news is as regards Adam Copeland. Adam Copeland signed a similar deal in AEW that he signed in WWE, and I was pointing out this for years. Nick, who I worked with on Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure, check out his work on PWTorch, is one of those wonderful people who also very much pushed this narrative, and it was correct. Edge in the WWE just didn't lose. It just didn't happen. The man, even on the way out, beat Grayson Waller. The man just refused to lose. In AEW, the same thing is happening, and that is why Christian Cage cashed in to make a match a triple threat and ended up picking up the loss. Essentially, it was so that Adam Copeland didn't have to lose. And that is all. Alex says, can't wait to see if that Dr. Featherstone report about Cena for his appearance next week is true. It does feel like that guy got thrown a bone after the massive screw-up that was a Drew McIntyre one. Massive screw-up. She says, do you think Alexa will be in the European tours because she wasn't on SmackDown last week? Personally, I don't, but I'll wait and see whether that's confirmed. Ashley says, according to Fightful, Meiko Satomura will be at Roadblock. Eric says, with the Hardys being signed back to WWE, can they be inducted into Hall of Fame this year or next year? Unlikely this year. They can be inducted, though. They could always have been inducted. It's nothing to do with signing for a wrestling company. Juan says, Mercedes Money herself said Momo kicked her so hard in the mouth, she nearly lost teeth and has a bruise. Now I see why she's hesitant to do hardcore AEW matches. Anonymous said, Moxley versus Copeland was so awkward. They wasted Christian's contract for him to lose in 1 minute. Yeah. Yeah. He just won't lose. Blue says, hi Tom, I do not get the Edge thing. He was never Cena, but he sure has a hardcore Holly attitude. And Cal says, just crazy how some older wrestlers simply refuse to give back. Cal says, in my opinion, I feel we'll either see the Wyatts Friday or the first Friday back after the European tour. No, Ray, I'm not going to Raw. I'm simply too busy. Oh, I'd hate it, Calvin. Hate it. Cal says, any news on Rey Mysterio? There is a plan for a WrestleMania match, but I'm waiting to see if it's confirmed. Christopher Leclerc says, tonight on Raw, we're going to hear from the new Women's World Heavyweight Championship, Io Sky. She's a championship? Wow, she must be heavy. Jazzy says, I feel like Mercedes should drop the Strong Championship soon. They need to get her there. Spider-Bell says, Seth is getting speared by Roman tonight at MSG. I have mentioned that I suspect the same. And Ray says, how's your Blue Sky going? Same as last time. I need to use it more. I just keep forgetting. I'm really enjoying not using social media. And I know that it's a great way to advertise. And it's a great way to let people know when there's a show live. I'm really enjoying not using social media. It is so refreshing not seeing the wall-to-wall hatred that you get on those platforms. It's all no pressure now. And with this in mind, even though we've only been live 33 minutes, I didn't have that much news, but I wanted to share what I had. We're out of news, guys, 33 minutes in. So I'm going to wrap it up. There's no pressure to stay on. I'm not here trying desperately to get money out of you guys. I want you guys to have a great night. So I'm going to say, I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. And I'll see you all very soon.